Folks, it's me, Denny Carter from Rotoworld and NBC Sports, coming at you for yet another fantasy football Q&A, this one for Week 15. Thank you for joining me on the NFL and NBC YouTube channel. We're going to answer your all-important start-sit questions for the first week of the fantasy playoffs. Maybe not in your league, not in my league. In my league, we start Week 16. In my league, there are no playoffs. I don't know. Yeah, everybody's league is so different. You know, we love to say not in my league. Yeah. Oh, well, this guy's a viable wide receiver 3. Not in my league. In my league, he's a wide receiver 1. I had to draft him in the first round. Well, maybe you shouldn't have done that with, Devontae Adams or whatever. Anyway, we're going to get to those in a moment. Get in your questions into the chat, and I will, to the best of my ability, answer them correctly. We're going to keep the streak going. I still haven't gotten one wrong this entire season, so we're gonna keep that going. Some bad news for me. I had to cancel a haircut today. And I need one badly. Maybe you can tell if you're watching this on the YouTube. My hair is so long. Like, maybe you can't tell, but it's crazy long for my standards, I should say. And I made this appointment 2 weeks ago. Something came up today with the kids' schedules, and it's not going to work out. So I'm going to have to tough it out. I'm going to have to find a way to keep combing my hair whilst it is very long. It is becoming increasingly difficult, I should say, to make my hair look right, because it becomes so heavy, on top, so heavy. And I you can only use so many products. Okay. I'm up to 3 products now trying to keep my hair in place. My hair doesn't stay in place very easily. You probably can't tell because you've never seen my hair except for in this form, right? Well, it gets crazy, folks. Let me tell you, it gets wild. And that's where the haircuts come in. I only get like 4 or 5 haircuts a year, believe it or not. I get it cut pretty short, and then I let it grow out. Also, my haircuts are very expensive, but I'm otherwise a very and that's not a sick brag. I am a cheap guy. Okay, like deeply, almost embarrassingly cheap. Okay, I mean, for instance, for lunch every day at home, I work from home, of course. I eat 1 can of chickpeas. In part because 1 can of chickpeas costs 98 cents at the store. And when it's on sale, it gets down to 85 cents. So that's my cheapness. That's the level of my cheapness. That I get giddy about the prospect of spending $5 basically on lunch for the whole week, for the whole work week, with my chickpeas, which I love dearly. Too much, some would say, but I am willing to splurge on a haircut because it means that much to me. But now I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get one before the holidays. So I'm going to look like a ragamuffin. This is what the Zoomers are saying now. I'm trying to appeal to a younger audience as usual. Ragamuffin this, ragamuffin that, skibbity ragamuffin, Giga Chad ragamuffin. I mean, it's all you all talk about. So anyway, I'm going to look like a ragamuffin for the holidays. All right. Let's get into your questions here. I just want to say quickly, check out the Funnel Defense Report, which is on Rotoworld right now. I go through games such as the Jaguars-Jets, which I know is a hideous sounding game, but trust me, there's some fantasy juice there. Bucks-Chargers, a matchup of 2 pass funnels, Panthers-Cowboys, and I can't remember the other game, but you're going to have to check it out. That's what you got to do. Check out the Funnel Defense Report. Also, check out the Rotoworld Football Show with me, Kyle Dvorak, and Pat Doherty. We do our weekly preview show on Thursdays. You can find that wherever podcasts are sold. All right, now it's time for the questions. I'm going to answer so many questions. No one has ever seen this many questions. We're going to start with Raul, who says he's in a real pickle. We'd love to be in a pickle. By the way, pickles are bad. Let's just be upfront about that. Pickles are not good. I will say that apparently pickles have some sort of, or can be used as some sort of hangover cure. Not cure, but something to help you get ahead of a hangover. And I know this because my buddy, we were at a wedding together in the summer, and my buddy, had more than a few. Let's just say that. Many more than a few. I mean, I also had more than a few, not as many as he did, but so I woke up the next day feeling quite bad. And I text with him and I'm like, oh man, you must be down pretty bad. He said, nope, I'm actually good. I was like, whatever, man. And long story short, he said that, he got home late at night from the wedding. He was very hungry, as you are. And he ate an entire jar of pickles. And he thinks that this hydrated him enough to save him from a horrible hangover. So pickles are good in that capacity. All right. So your opponent had Cooper Kupp, LOL. That's mean. You need one quarterback, two running backs, three receivers, one flex. All right. So Kyler or Bo Nix, I would go Bo Nix. I mean, you got to play Derrick Henry. Play Derrick Henry, play Chuba over Bucky Irving. Even if Bucky plays, you playing Chuba. And then you three receivers. So obviously Mike Evans, DJ Moore. I would play Josh Downs. I actually think he's in a pretty good spot. And then throw McConkey in there as well. All right. Ian Taylor's in the chat. Ian is at wit's end. Down badly. I hate when the wits run out, Ian. When you reach the end of the wits, it's a bad place. I will say, and I've been there. I've been there as recently as 15 minutes ago. I can see why, because you're deciding between Jordan Love and Anthony Richardson. That's a tough one. I mean, just real quick, I need to check something on Richardson because I want to share something with the folks. So his Anthony Richardson's fantasy profile has gotten better of late because he's running more. Here are his rushing totals over the past 3 games. Since he returned from benching or injury, whatever it was, benching, I guess. 10 rushes against the Jets, 10 rushes against Detroit, 9 rushes against New England, including inside the 10 stuff where, he has 3 total rushing touchdowns over those 3 games. That changes things a lot because that's not what we were seeing early in the season. And especially the Colts using Anthony Richardson as a red zone threat and inside the 10 threat. So I actually would lean Richardson just because of that. There's also, I mentioned this on the Rotoworld Football Show on Thursday. The Packers are just refusing to throw the ball. So what you're hoping for Love as a best case scenario is a hyper efficient outing, right? An outing where he drops back 25 times, 30 times, and throws 3 touchdowns on those opportunities. The Packers since week 8 have a 45% neutral pass rate. That's the lowest in the league. It's actually unimaginable, except for, if you have like a hyper mobile quarterback, and that's not Jordan Love. Excuse me. I have an itch on my back. So I would lean Richardson there, but I understand that's a tough call. All right. Ian also wants to know, is he being too cute? We are not too cute. We don't, I appreciate you checking in with me because I don't. The last thing I'd want for you is to get too cute in the fantasy playoffs. It's the worst kind of cute to be. And you want to know, are you starting Stone Smart with 2 T's over Dalton Kincaid? That's tough. Okay, here's the thing. Oh, I remember now. I wrote up the Lions-Bills game in the Funnel Defense Report. If you guys would like, check that out. So the Bills have no chance to establish it here. They're going to have to throw. So if Kincaid is out there, if he's running a full complement of routes, I guess Kincaid is the play. But just barely. Stone Smart is a good play. I don't care what anyone says. Nate Ford is in the chat. Which two would you start in PPR between McLaurin, Brian Thomas, Devontae Smith, and Malik Neighbors? I actually think Malik Neighbors can get there this week. And it doesn't have to do with the Ravens secondary being bad, although they are. That doesn't really matter against Tommy DeVito, right? Last time Tommy DeVito played, he was excellent. I'll spare you the nerdy details, but he was excellent on throws between 1 and 10 yards from the line of scrimmage. In other words, easy button PPR cheat code stuff for Malik Neighbors. And to a lesser extent, I guess, Wan'Dale Robinson. So that's what you're looking for. I think that's what you're going to get for Neighbors. I don't think Devontae Smith is in this conversation just because of how run heavy the Eagles have been. He's basically almost like a touchdown or bust play here against the Steelers. Also, the Steelers. Okay, maybe I'll just get into this in just a second. All right, but just to answer your question, I start McLaurin. Man, you can't start Thomas. I start McLaurin. I start Neighbors. But Brian Thomas is going to see double-digit targets against the Jets, so that's a tough one. But you can only start 2. Yeah. All right, I'm going to get into the nerdy metrics here early in the show. I want to change it up, okay? I want to throw you for a loop. Because you think you know me. You don't know me. You don't know how this show goes. You've been listening to the show all year. You don't know anything about it. I'm going to throw you for a loop. I'm going to start talking about rush yards before contact per rush now instead of later. All right. But we're going to whittle this down though from week 8 to week 14. Okay. Just to get like a clear picture of recent trends. Right. And so the reason I mentioned this now is because I talked about that Eagles Steelers game, and there's no reason to think that the Eagles are going to stop running the ball at an enormous rate, at a 65% rate here. Because the Steelers' run defense has not been good. And so from week 8 to week 14, no team has allowed more rush yards before contact per attempt than the Steelers. And it's not really close. The Steelers are kind of being pushed around. In the run game. So they rank worst or best, or however you want to put it. The Bears are allowing the second highest rate of rush yards before contact. So Aaron Jones is in a quietly, I think, very good spot here. A guy who could easily see 15 to 18 carries and be pretty efficient against a bad Bears run defense. The Panthers are third in this category, which obviously puts Rico Dowdle in a good spot. The Cowboys are fourth, which puts Chuba Hubbard in a great spot with Jonathan Brooks out. The Browns are fifth. The Browns have given up the 5th most rush yards before contact per attempt over the past 8 weeks or so. And, so Isaiah Pacheco, if he does get more of that Kansas City backfield workload, I think could be a good play this week. Rams are 6th. Commanders are 7th. That doesn't really matter because of game script issues in the Saints game. Saints Commanders. And then the Cardinals are 8th. The Cardinals are giving up the 8th highest rate of rush yards before contact. Ramondre Stevenson, I talked about him on the Rotoworld football show on Thursday. Again, quiet. We're going to be quiet about this. but I'm going to tell you very clearly that Ramondre Stevenson is in a good spot. Maybe not a smash spot, okay? I think he's in a good spot to see volume, to be somewhat efficient against a pretty bad, Cardinals run defense. Go to the bottom of the list here with rush yards before contact per attempt. You have the Broncos dead last. It's a nightmare spot for Jonathan Taylor. I'll be real with you. It does not get worse. The Eagles are second best here. So like I don't know. Like Najee Harris, best case scenario, he falls into the end zone, I guess. The Jets are third best. Bad spot as usual for Jacksonville's running backs. Giants are next, so Derrick Henry smash spot. And the Packers actually are fifth best against the run in this category. So, last week against the Cardinals, I think Zach Charbonnet was in a much better spot than he's going to be in this week. But Charbonnet should still be played. He can still get there with some pass game work as well. Okay, now that we're done with the nerdy stuff, we're going to go to Patrick. Assuming both are relatively healthy, McConkalicious or Mooney in the flex. Well, I've never heard him described as McConkalicious. That's weird. I mean, you got to go McConkey if he plays. Like he's like locked in for a 30% target share here in what I think could be a back and forth type game. All right, Nate says, is it too galaxy brain to start Jameis Winston over Hurts in a 4-point passing touchdown league? I mean, I'm bullish on Jameis. Of course, I'm less bullish on Jameis if David Njoku misses this week. Njoku has not practiced yet as of Friday morning. So we'll see his Friday practice status, but that does affect things. But I mean, you're looking at, no, you can't, I don't think you can do that because even though Hurts is doing essentially nothing through the air as far as yardage goes, he has a rushing touchdown in 6 of his past 7 games. Here are his recent rushing attempt totals. 10, 12, 9, 8. That's cheat code. That's the Konami code there. So I would go with Hurts. Jose says, would you prefer week 16 Bills against New England? So Bills defense against New England or Green Bay against the Saints? I would actually prefer Green Bay because Derek Carr probably not playing. You're going to get some combination of oh no, I forgot the Jake Hayner and Spencer Rattler. So that I would go with the Packers there. All right, yeah. So feel free. Obviously, folks are asking their Week 16 lineup questions as well because you are doing the right thing. Something I've done in a few leagues where I have a bye week. Another sick brag from yours truly. I got a bye week. You're planning ahead. You're planning ahead, and you're like a good type 1, type A personality, and you're saying, I want to be prepared for week 16. So this person asks, week 16, Jameis against Cincinnati or Kyler against Carolina, and I'm going Winston there. Will is in the chat. Will says, Denschwarmer. Is that my name? Denschwarmer? So I'm 41. I joined a softball league, an all men's softball league. I played co-rec for a long time. I kind of accidentally joined a men's only. And everybody in the league is like 24 years old and an elite athlete. I held my own for a while as the left center fielder. I'm a good outfielder. Okay, like I'm like Jordan Addison. Like I can track the ball. Okay, I'm a really good ball tracker. I've lost some speed over the years. I mean, I'm not the gazelle that I was in my mid-20s tracking down fly balls in softball, but a couple years ago, I didn't get to one fly ball, and it was tough. Like I had to like leg it out. The ball is like swirling in the wind. I'm looking over one shoulder and over the other, and I'm trying to track it, and it hits off the edge of my glove and falls to the ground. And this guy's benched me. They benched me for some guy who was much faster but couldn't track the ball and couldn't catch. So I immediately quit the team. Anyway, Cup gave me 0 last night, so I'm chasing upside. Herbert or Knicks this week. I think Knicks is the play. And you have Sutton to stack with Knicks. I think that's if you want upside, that's the play. You all also a Chargers fan. It just keeps going. Also a Chargers fan and would hate to lose because I didn't trust my guy. Don't think of it like that. You're setting yourself up for just total regret. No matter what, you gotta just play the best play. That's my advice to you. It's a controversial take, and it's a take that I should probably listen to myself more often. But play the best play, and the best play here is Knicks. Especially you have Sutton, and the Colts secondary is pretty bad. So go with it, man. Go. All right. Week 16, Richardson against the Titans. Jameis against the Bengals. Caleb now. Nope. I would go Winston. Go with Winston. All right. We got another question here. Got to play 2! Exclamation point. AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, or Ladd McConkers. Yeah. I mean, so AJ Brown is the squeaky wheel, is the quintessential squeaky wheel. The wheel has never been squeakier than it is with AJ Brown this week. He made the move. Me and Pat Doherty talked about this on Galaxy Brains, which I suggest you check it out. It's a little short 10-minute podcast that we do every week. You can find it on Rotoworld. On Galaxy Brains, we talked about the lengths to which AJ Brown has gone this week to get the attention of Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and the rest of the Eagles organization, including most importantly, he changed his Instagram profile to a picture of the Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, to be specific. So again, the wheel is squeaking. He's saying that the lack of target volume for me is turning me into the Joker, a nihilistic, homicidal maniac. And that's probably not dramatic at all. That's probably very real, I would say. And not overstating the issue at all. I do love that for elite wide receivers, it does not matter if the team's winning. I know folks would push back on that, but it doesn't. It just doesn't. Like, if the team is winning and they're contributing, then things are great. If the team's losing and they are putting up big numbers, things are okay. But if the team's winning and they're not putting up big numbers or any numbers at all, then things go sideways. We saw this with Stephen Diggs in Buffalo. All right, gotta play 2. Dang. This is tough. So I kind of think, and Rotopat is with me on this, I kind of think this is the Super Bowl for Aaron Rodgers this week against Jacksonville. And he's going to show the haters that he still got it against the worst defense in recent memory. And so we're talking about 12 to 15 targets for Devontae Adams. I see him in this list, and I'm struggling to find a reason to say sit Devontae Adams. I think you just play him. And then Lad McConkey, if he plays. That's tough. I mean, or both Jets. But okay, I'd go with Adams and McConkey. All right, so we have a kicker question. Sound the alarms. Wee-oo. Thank you, producer Adam. Chris Boswell or Will Reichert? Boswell, best kicker of the year so far. Should I go with Reichert instead? Reichert seems to have the game script advantage. You are correct. That is right. And the folks, more and more, are learning about the kicker process. We want kickers on teams that will provide neutral and positive game script. And who better fits that description than Will Reichert, the Vikings kicker, with the Vikings listed as of this recording, as 7-point favorites with a 25.25 implied total. That's a lot. So Reichert is a good play. You know, the Steelers are underdogs, I believe. Let me just make sure here. And you know, so that makes me a little hesitant. Yeah, I mean, yeah, wow, they're 5.5-point dogs. Well, you know, and so typically I like the kicker process honestly says to play Reichert over Boswell. The Steelers kick so many stupid field goals that it's hard to say sit Boswell, but I probably would. All right, so Jose's back about my article, the pass funnel defense. If Njoku doesn't play Week 16, Stone Smart can fill that spot. Oh, okay, yeah, right. I mean, yeah, pick up Stone Smart if you're down bad at tight end for sure. Please help my family eat. Oh man, this is so much pressure. You know, I'd rather just answer your fantasy questions and not have to feed your family, but it's part of the job, so I'll do it. But only for you, person with an indecipherable YouTube name. Please help my family eat. Bench one between DJ Moore, DeAndre Hopkins, McLaurin, Metcalf. I'm not loving the DK vibes, but would I miss the big spike game? Well, look. The Seahawks are no longer throwing downfield. They decided that whole thing is over. And they're not really throwing much at all. They're 20th in pass rate over expected over the past 6 weeks. You know, so that whole pass heavy thing is out the window because they decided that they would like to win. And as much as I love Geno Smith, you can't lead the NFL by a wide margin in pass rate over expected with Geno Smith as your quarterback and expect to win. So they've established it. And there are very few air yards to go around. So, you know, before this shift in the Seattle offense, we used to see DK regularly have 100, 150, sometimes north of 150 air yards a game. Those are really good numbers. Last week, he led the Seahawks in air yards with 61. You know, that like in most weeks on most teams, 61 air yards would be like the third or fourth most. And it was easily the most for Seattle last week. So you're playing DJ Moore. The Bears are going to drop back so much. Crazy drop back volume here for the Bears against Minnesota. No team has given up more receiver receptions this season than Minnesota. DJ Moore has to be in the lineup. Terry McLaurin has to be in the lineup. The injury to Noah Brown, we talked about this on the Rotoworld Football Show on Thursday. Kyle mentioned it. The injury to Noah Brown, who's going to be out for the foreseeable future, apparently. He has some internal injuries, which we're hoping he's okay. It seems like he is okay. But he's going to be out. You know, he had meaningfully cut into McLaurin's, you know, target hogging role in the Washington offense. And that's especially important because the Commanders offense has been so run heavy, right? So the pie is not that big to split up, right? So if McLaurin dominates the pie, if he eats, like 40% of that pie, that's the only way for him to be consistently like a wide receiver, like a top 15, top 20 guy, right? But a guy like Noah Brown comes along and then inexplicably eats into that, then it becomes a lot iffier. Then we're talking about like you kind of need McLaurin to score a touchdown, which we don't want to rely on. But so Noah Brown being out should be good. Also, I should mention Zach Ertz becomes a little more interesting from a streaming perspective with Noah Brown out. The Saints are not a good matchup for tight ends, but nevertheless, we persist in streaming our beloved millennial king. Couldn't find the word king. Our beloved millennial king, Zach Ertz. Anyway, so yeah, I'd play. I would bench DK Metcalf. Someone is asking why their questions are being deleted. I don't know, buddy. I don't know. I don't have control over all that. Mr. Unlimited is in the chat. So I started Cup last night, and I'm down bad in Superflex. Which quarterback would you actually start for the ceiling? Goff, Jameis, or Darnold? Just one. Yeah. So look, it's Jared Goff. I mean, Bills, Lions, 55 point over under. I don't really see a reason why either Josh Allen or Jared Goff would have a particularly bad game here. The Lions are sporting a 28.75 point implied total. That's the second highest of the week behind the Ravens. By the way, the 49ers had a 26.25 implied total. Didn't quite get there on Thursday night. Not quite. Almost, but not quite. So I think it's pretty easily Jared Goff there. Happy National Donut Day, Cooper Kupp. Hey-o! All right. The Big Cheese is in the chat. How do you approach weather forecasts in various fantasy roster positions? For instance, what conditions would lead to you consider benching a quarterback, running back, or kicker versus just starting your starters? Yeah, it's a good question. We really don't know. It's hard to answer these except for on Sunday morning, really. When we have like a really good grasp of a weather situation. Wind is the main thing. Or in Brock Purdy's case, any form of precipitation. Apparently, the kid can't play if it's raining, if it's snowing, if anything is coming out of the sky. But just generally, jokes aside, the wind is a big factor. There's no reason to like for instance, like play a kicker when they're calling for gusts of wind of 25, 30 miles an hour. Like, just go with a guy who's in a dome or in good weather, whose team should see some neutral game script. Like, I rarely see a reason to do that. So yeah, that's, and as far as quarterbacks go, it depends on the quarterback. Like, a quarterback like Anthony Richardson can still be okay if it's nasty weather, if it's windy, because he doesn't rely so much, or Jalen Hurts, it doesn't rely so much on the passing, and they can still run the ball. I hope that helped a little bit. All right. We have another question here. Help! The bank examiner wants to swing by again. The bank examiner never sleeps, apparently. Always at my door, always asking me what happened to my precious best ball teams. I have one best ball team that's looking pretty lively. I got a few best ball teams advanced on DraftKings. I one that looks pretty good. So we're gonna see how that works out. Anyway, so bank examiner, leave me alone. Leave me alone for one weekend of my life. Let me live. Anyway, 12-team league, half PPR, Calvin Ridley or James Cook this week. It's Ridley. Bengals are a massive pass funnel. The Titans should have to throw a lot. it's going to be a bunch of like prayer yards for Ridley, but it's not the worst profile. A bunch of downfield looks. You never know. He might catch one. Okay. And all it takes is one and you're there. Another question. In one of my leagues, someone drafted Austin Eckler in round 1, not knowing he's no longer the RB1 for the Chargers. Well, that's why you got to do your homework. That's why you have to study the analytics, aka look at a depth chart once before you draft your fantasy teams. All right, King Snow is in the chat. Down 5 points. Opponent had Juwan Jennings. You feel pretty good about that. Juwan Jennings, by the way, crushed in expected points leagues last night. If you get fantasy points for expected fantasy points, Juwan Jennings went berserk on Thursday night against LA. 30 plus fantasy points, expected fantasy points. Those expected points are often not the same as real fantasy points, but I think we should just do expected points going forward, starting in 2025. Who says no? Who says no? Only the anti-analytics crowd would say no. How dare you? Down 5 points. All right. Need 2 between, I guess, Tyreek Hill, Jerry Jeudy, and Thielen. I think you have definitely Jeudy. You got to go Tyreek. I mean, he got involved last week. It seems like, okay, so the Dolphins continue to pass in the short areas almost exclusively, but they finally got Waddle and Hill involved in that little scheme, right? Last week against the Jets. I think they combined for 22 targets. Tyreek doesn't have the fantasy week deciding upside that we thought he had when we drafted him in round 1. When I say we, I mean me personally. You've hurt me personally, Tyreek. But I think last week was a good sign. I would go Jeudy and Tyreek, and your running backs are James Conner, Bucky Irving, or McCormick, Sincere McCormick. And that's a real name. You're going Conner and Bucky Irving if he plays. But McCormick's a decent fallback option. 17 touches last week for McCormick. Lanny Horn is in the chat. Hello, Lanny. The all-knowing, all-seeing Deniford. It's what they call me. It's what they called me in college. Who is the best wide receiver to grab for weeks 16 to 17? Xavier Legette against the Cardinals and the Bucks, Jalen McMillan or Sterling Shepard or Nick Westbrook-Akine against the Colts and the Jags. I think Legette is the play. I talked about him on the show on Thursday. If you want to check that out, his profile is way better than you might think. I also wrote him up pretty extensively, I believe, in the Week 15 regression files, which is actually in the chat if you like to click on that and read it. So I'd go with Legette. Lord of Wisdom. You guys, you're taking it to a whole new level that's making me, frankly, a little uncomfortable. Please let me arrive at Christmas Eve with a big dinner. Sure. Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. By big dinner, I suppose you mean 2 cans of chickpeas, which I will eat very happily. Which defense this week, Jacksonville or Seattle? Neither. Well, if that's your only choice, I go Seattle, of course. Consider Carolina. I'm just throwing it out there. They're playing better. They get Cooper Rush, whatever. Consider the Carolina defense. We have another question here. Tua, Nix, or Jameis this week. You need upside. Don't we all? I would say I need upside in every aspect of life. Tua, Nix, or Winston. Tua, Nix, or Winston. Okay. Assuming that the weather is not apocalyptic in Cleveland this weekend and David Njoku plays, I go Jameis Winston. If not, just go with Nix. Denny Belly. All right, that's another one. It's a weird one. Start Jake Ferguson. Jake Fergie Ferguson, as the Zoomers are calling him, or Zach Ertz. I go with Zach Ertz. I don't care what the Zoomers say. Christmas is here to stay. Let's see. The Big Cheese says, let the hair grow out. It looks great. I appreciate that. I do. Thank you. Sincerely, thank you. Sincere McCormickly, thank you. Should teams that didn't make the playoffs have their rosters locked to prevent ads and drops? That's always been my preference, but I get pushback. I don't know if I have like a really strong take on this, and which is weird because I have a strong take on everything because I think I'm right about everything. I think if you're not in the playoffs, if you're in the consolation bracket, like it's over for you. Well, but then if there are payouts for people in the consolation bracket, then you need. But if okay, here's the thing. Okay, if you're in a league and the only people who can win are in the playoffs, win anything, whatever you guys compete for in this various league these various leagues, right? If that's the case, then yes, the consolation bracket roster should be locked immediately upon entering the playoffs. That would be my take. King Snow, QB question, Pat Mahomes or Baker Mayfield? Easily Mayfield over Patrick Mahomes. I'm not calling him that. I'm just repeating what I've heard from the Zoomers. They keep saying Mahomes. You know, it's disrespectful. Well, what else would you expect from Gen Z? I would never advocate for calling him Patrick Mahomes. His name is Mahomes. It's not Mahomes. So don't stop with the Mahomes. The Big Cheese, I consider myself pretty cheap as well. What temperature are you keeping your house at during the day and evenings during the winter? Yeah. So I live in Maryland. So it gets cold. It's 37 degrees here right now. I keep my house at 68 all day and all night. It seems to be a pretty good temperature. I will say I have a little heater going in the downstairs where I record podcasts and work during the day. Because 68, it might be 68 degrees upstairs, but bro, it is not 68 down here. I'm sorry. There's just no chance. No way for me to find out what the actual temperature is downstairs, but I'm guessing it's like 65, maybe like 64, 3 even. Okay. So I get it. I have a little heater that keeps going. I'm sure it's great for my utility bill, which is always so high. All right. Which 3 receivers should I start in week 5 in PPR? Oh, no, sorry, not week 5. Which 3 receivers should I start out of the 5 in PPR? Metcalf, Hopkins, Tillman, Downs, Wilson. You got to start Wilson. So 3. You got 3. Wilson, Hopkins, and and Downs. Yeah, Wilson, Hopkins, Downs. There you go. Lindorphins is in the chat. Happy Friday the 13th. Short and sweet today. If Brees is out, Braylon Allen against the Jags or Najee. Yeah, I'd go with Braylon. The Jags are in everything funnel. And, Braylon Allen, had to split the backfield last week with Isaiah Davis, but whatever. Like, we kind of expected that. So go with Braylon. But yes, happy Friday the 13th. Or as the old trailers used to say, you can look them up on YouTube. It's Friday the 13th. And then they would show a montage of the various atrocities committed in that movie. I'm a big Friday the 13th guy, as many of you know. We mentioned it on the Fantasy Football Happy Hour, actually, in our recording today. It'll be available on Peacock and the YouTube channel. If I could suggest one to watch, because there are so many, there are 10 or 12, I can't, including some reboots. I would suggest part 2 or part 4. So if you're into it, you do that, okay, tonight, and you commemorate this high holy day of Friday the 13th. All right, folks, we have about 15 minutes left. And so this person, I believe I won't use Jaleel McLaughlin. I'm struggling with this one, brother. I'm sorry. All right. Is Brenton Strange silly? Is it Brenton Strange silly season? Yeah. So Brenton Strange is going to take over pass catching duties at tight end for Jacksonville, with Evan Ingram out for the year. Doug Peterson announced that on Friday morning. Yeah. I mean, you could do worse. I would prefer Stone Smart with 2 T's, not 3, not 5, not 1, but 2 T's. I would prefer Stone Smart over Brenton Strange, but I mean, he's going to be running a lot of routes and probably going to be a dump off option for Mac Jones, who enjoys the dump off. Brian is in the chat. Good afternoon. Same to you. My RB1 is Josh Jacobs. You got 3 running backs. Which 2 should you start between James Cook, Tracy, and Charbonnet? I would go with Cook and Charbonnet. I can't trust Tracy there. Half PPR, Hawkinson or Kraft. Yeah. That's tough. I would go with TJ Hawkinson there. Amari Cooper or Jordan Addison. I'd still go Addison. I mean, look, Addison's running super hot. Okay. Like it's gonna come back to earth, but he's seeing enough targets where I think that, he can overcome that. Amari Cooper was targeted on like 55% of his routes last week, just out of nowhere. That's a crazy number. So if that continues, I will be wrong, but I would lean Addison there. Mike is in the chat, projected as an underdog, so thinking I need upside. I like the thinking that sometimes you don't need upside. I've done that too. I only need some points, so I'm gonna play the worst option rather than the best. I'm gonna play the guy who I think will score fewer points rather than the most points, because maybe I don't need all the upside. It's a funny way to think, and again, I'm guilty. All right, excuse me. Was going to start Khalil Shakir over Najee, but with Coleman and Kincaid returning, is that foolish? It's not foolish. It's not foolish. The Bills are going to throw a lot against Detroit. Detroit's secondary, not so good. There's no way the Bills are going to be able to run it much here. Chris Sales in the chat. Hello, Chris. Just curious if you have a metric for how bad or good wide receivers or pass catchers perform in inclement weather. I don't. I really wish I did, man. That'd be cool. It'd be cooler if my answer was yes. Like, this guy averages 19 PPR points in mid to late December when the temperature is below 29 degrees and the wind chill reaches 12. And there are southwest winds coming at between 10 and 15 miles an hour. I mean, if I had a spreadsheet like that, I honestly wouldn't even share it. Okay? That's a cheat code. That's just telling the future. I don't have it, unfortunately. I always lean toward not playing guys, but wanted your thoughts. Got burned with Juwan Jennings. Again, look, I mean, the weather wasn't that bad in the Rams game, right? I mean, there was a period in that game where it was just Brock Purdy being bad. By the way, the Purdy thing's over, obviously. Completely over. They should have kept Darnold. That whole team falls apart after the season. I wouldn't be surprised if Shanahan is gone. Not fired, but I mean, what does he want with a rebuild, please? Yeah. So I don't worry about it too much. All right. Kicker question: Fairbairn or the Boz? I'd go with Fairbairn against the Dolphins. Drake London calling or Zach Life is a Charbonnet. You're a music knower is what I'd say, Cyrus Osborne. I'd go. I mean, if Ken Walker's out, it has to be Charbonnet. Someone says that Stone Smart is the ultimate cute. I don't know. Look, He was targeted on 25% of his routes last week after Will Dissly left the game against the Chiefs. Stone Smart, he played in the slot primarily. That's always good for fantasy. And he's playing a Bucs secondary that's not so great, and it's a pass funnel. I look, I think it's Stone Smart season. All right. Chris Sales back in the chat. Who would I flex between Shakir, Jameson Williams, MHJ, Mooney, and Tracy? I'm also debating between so much. I would go with Kincaid if he plays over Kraft. And then so all these are flex options. Good grief. I think, it has to be Jameson Williams. A great spot for him. Belligerent. No, that's not his name. I can't pronounce it. Anyway, I got Bucky Irving tentatively in at the flex. If he can't go, should I start Demario Douglas, Devon Vele, or someone else, possibly on waivers? That's tough. I would go with Demario Douglas if Bucky Irving does not play. It's close, though. Let's see. D Sparks in the chat. I have London McLaurin and JSN in my lineup. Is it too cute to force Thielen in at the expense of one of my starters? Yeah. Too cute. We don't get too cute. We do a lot of things on the show. We laugh, we cry, we hold each other with consent, and we don't get cute. You know that. That's too cute. But I'm glad you asked. Eric is in the chat. Thank you for the nice words. He's a full PPR pick 2 between Chuba Hubbard, Pacheco, Addison, Downs, Irving. Whew. All right, Chuba's got to play. He's a top 10 running back this week easily. Got to get him in. And then I would go with I'd go with Downs, actually. I guess I'm kind of bullish on Downs. I go Chuba and Downs. That's tough though. We're just gonna go with that. Sit 2 between Ridley, MHJ, Ramondre, and Jacoby. I sit 2. I guess Jacoby and MHJ sit. I hate that though. All right, Nicholas says Eagles defense against the Steelers or Bengals against the Titans. I think you play the Eagles. I mean, it's tough. It's not like a smash, but I think it's the Eagles. Alpha's in the chat looking for some help. I have Garrett Wilson, Ladd, Pacheco, and Charbonnet. Need a wide receiver and a flex. All right, you're playing Garrett Wilson and you're playing Charbonnet. Start 3. Logan says start 3 full PPR between Chuba, Kamara, Connor. Well, Ken Walker's probably not going to play. So you start Chuba, Connor, and Charbonnet. I'm not interested in Kamara too much this week with what's his name getting involved in the backfield. That other Saints running back. Too cute to rely on the Colts defense in week 16 against Tennessee. In week 17, no. I mean, look, week 16, I prefer the Packers against the Saints over pretty much anybody. So just know that. But if you have to only pick up one, I think that the Titans week 16 and 17, or I'm sorry, the Colts week 16 and 17 is the play there. I'm in a 1 keeper full PPR league, Puka for a 7th or Bowers for an 8th. That's tough. That's real tough. I mean, I'm leaning Bowers because, well, I mean, Puka's going to be a first rounder too, but Bowers is a onesie position, primarily or traditionally. So I would go with, I think I'd go with Bowers. All right. Let's see. Mahomes, Knicks, or Herbert. I think you're starting Knicks there. I know you're starting Knicks. You have no choice but to start Knicks. Jonathan is in the chat. Thanks for all your help. Yeah, of course. Getting wild in week 15, play Winston or Richardson. half PPR, 14 team league, Winston or Richardson. I would go with Winston again. If the Cleveland weather is crazy and or if Njoku is out, be careful with Winston. But I do like him against the Chiefs. He's going to drop back 50 times. That's how it goes. The Ben DiNucci will be starting by halftime for the Saints. Oof. He is the emergency third quarterback. All right, I'm going to try to answer a few more. We have 4 minutes left. Daryl says pick 2 in full PPR between Harrison, Waddle, Downs, and Cooper. I think you got to go Downs and Harrison. McConkalicious. Right. I'm sorry. Matthew Berry says McConkalicious. I forgot about that. We're trying to make it happen. Stop trying to make McConkalicious happen, Matthew. Also playing Knicks over Goff. I mean, it's not terrible, but I'd probably play Goff. Bandit is in the chat, I believe. This is Brad. Lord Denniston Carter IV. That is my full name. Is it safe to play Chris Boswell? Trusting the kicker. I actually talked about Boswell a few minutes ago. If you like, check it out. I do think it's okay to not play him. So there you go. Malik Neighbors or Jameson Williams. Full PPR, I would go with Neighbors. That's a tough call, though. Otherwise, probably Jameson. I think he has more touchdown upside. Kamara or Isaac Davis. I think you just go with Kamara. Thielen. Let's see. We have Cris asks Thielen, MHJ or Myers. Go with MHJ. And let me scroll down here. Oh, so many questions, guys. I'm not going to be able to get them all. I'm sorry. Should I drop Goff for Palmer? I have Bo Nix. For Josh Palmer? Probably not. I mean, unless you desperately need a receiver. Cole Kmet or Jake Ferguson. I'd go with Cole Kmet. Yeah, I'd go with Cole Kmet. Is it wrong to enjoy the ride starting Jameis Winston 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, 5 pick sixes? Hey, it's not wrong. If it's wrong to enjoy that, then count me as wrong. Justin Jefferson seems happy, though it's been rough statistically. Yeah, I think Justin Jefferson is the exception to the rule about what I was talking about earlier. And, good on him. Good on him for that. If it's announced, Rob wants to know if it's announced that Bucky Irving will play, but not said whether he'll be limited or not, who do you play in PPR flex? Bucky Irving, Braylon Allen, or McCormick? That's really hard to say. I don't know, man. I'd still go Bucky Irving probably. First time caller, long time listener. Happy to have you on the show. Debo failed my flex. Oof, yeah, Debo might be done. Flex 2 needs to be between Najee, Bigsby, either Jets backup running back Mooney or MHJ. Yeah, I mean, you probably want to swing for the proverbial fences there and go with Harrison, I think. All right. Eric says Paul Rudd's brother here spitting fantasy advice. I'll take it. Paul Rudd is a handsome man. I admire him very much. Should I drop Goff? People are asking if they should drop Goff. Did something happen? Do I need to check rotoworld.com to see if something happened to Jared Goff? Everybody's asking if they should drop him. I'm not seeing anything. That's weird. So Bucky Irving is questionable for week 15. I mean, he should, that means he should play probably. Okay, guys. Let's see. Brian Thomas or Jameson. I'd go Jameson. Week 16 defensive stash. Lions against the Bears. Raiders hosting the Jaguars. Falcons hosting the Giants. So I'm stashing. Excuse me. I'm stashing the Falcons there. I'm actually stashing them in a couple leagues for week 16. So David says he got cupped on Thursday night. Choose one wide receiver, one running back, or two running backs in a flex. Yeah, you got to play Derrick Henry. You got to play Achane. And then you play you play Lamb and Charbonnet. There you go. Folks, I have to get going. I appreciate it. Someone says my Christmas decorations are 100% too cute. Well, I will take that as a compliment. I'll try to answer one more. Connor or Charbonnet? You're going with Charbonnet. And if Ken Walker sits, and then Bradley says full PPR. Oh, you already answered. I already answered that. Andrews or Hawkinson in standard. I think you go Andrews there, and Jameson or Devontae Smith. Rest of season full PPR. Jameson, I think, is the play. All right, folks, that'll do it for me, Denny Carter from Rotoworld and NBC Sports. Thank you again for joining me for this fantasy football Q&A. You can find me every Friday on the NFL and NBC YouTube channel. So I'll see you next week. Until then, good luck to you and only you in Week 15.